Welcome to PhillyCocoa Presents Side Project Spotlight, episode 58. This is the developer's journey into making cool stuff. I'm Kotaro.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are PhillyCocoa, a Philadelphia-based Cocoa Heads community focused on Apple development that primarily, but not exclusively, means iOS, Mac, tvOS, watchOS, and visionOS development. PhillyCocoa's true desire is to take you higher on your own developer journey.
Yes.
All right.
And
Okay,
we can
good.
really say
So.
visionOS now. Yeah.
Yeah,
we can really say
can.
visionOS because it's now like a thing. There's actually, you can buy it. It's not quite in hands yet, but
as of this recording, as they say,
as of this recording,
Yeah,
the pre-orders are
opened
up.
on. Yeah, they opened Friday of this
Right.
week.
And
the 19th.
it will be available February 2nd. But we, as of when this recording comes out, it will be a few days before the actual pre-orders are out. And about, if you will.
so if
the
you're
actual
listening to
Vision
this when
Pros
it,
are out.
if you're listening to this when it drops, it should be like January 29th. So
Yeah.
so we wanted to talk about today. Do like a whole episode about the Vision Pro as things stand right as it's getting into people's hands, and look at it from a developer perspective and a little more technical perspective. Now that we have concrete information about some apps that are actually coming out, things that are not coming out, features maybe we weren't 100% sure of. So although we've talked about Vision Pro in the past, we haven't really like this. We have the most up to date information we've had ever. So
Yeah, in terms of like the hardware, I think one of the things that is interesting, Marcus Brown, is it? Marcus Brown.
yeah, MKBHB, MKDHB.
Try saying
MKBHD.
MKBHD. We'll eventually get it.
Sorry, Marcus.
Weird.
But
I'm sure he listens to our podcast.
I know. I guess
Not a chance.
I was watching one shorts of what he was talking about, and I knew this to be the case, but it's kind of interesting to see it from sort of a fresh eyes of how when you're looking at when you're using the Vision Pro, your eyes become the mouse basically in terms of interactions. When you look at something, the app icons, for example, react, right? The 3D layers within the app icons, if you set it up correctly, kind of like begin to like expand a little bit here, or something expands a little bit there. So it's sort of like either a button will like lighten up or increase based on whether or not your eyes are focused on it. And as an app developer, that's one thing that I was like, oh, I have to be conscientious about those opportunities where I want to bring something up to the foreground a little bit, just to like indicate, hey, I'm available if you want to, click on me, or in this case, pinch on me or whatever.
It's similar to the
to interact with me.
tvOS focus effect, right? But more subtle.
Or is it less subtle? I don't know. I found
I think it's more subtle.
The tvOS one is so subtle, sometimes I miss it. Depends on the image. It's
Yeah,
focusing. Does it like shimmer effect or something?
But it also
it kind of, like,
expands.
increases
It
a little
does, I
bit.
guess, a little bit.
Yeah,
Stuff
expands a little bit.
pretty much. Yeah.
In the video or on the website for visionOS, it looks like it looks like the interior of the app icon, the circle icon, will like pop out. Is that really
So
what
the
happens?
app icon, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
If you
and
were
then other
doing your
things.
app, I think if it's like a tile, like a video tile or a button, it will highlight and maybe expand a little bit, but I don't think it will like come forward from from like towards you in a Z index point of view.
So was that not obvious? Did that not happen in the SDK and simulator?
It's not obvious because it's hard to like see, because you're not.
Yeah.
You can't tilt your head very easily in the simulator. You can technically use the arrow keys to kind of like.
I was
get
using like a
sense of it, but
controller
you're not-
and trying to do it. And
Yeah.
It still wasn't that great.
In fact, probably one of the ideal situations is that you use the controller just to like get the best sort of feel for it. But like a game controller, gives you way too much liberties in terms of like, oh, I can float in space, for example, and jump up, 20 feet in the air without doing much. So it doesn't really reflect true first person perspective in a sense of like how you would how your head might tilt one way or the other in a very easy fashion to interact with the UI. So you can do it, but it's really hard. It's not natural. So that's the thing that I think is particular about having hardware. I think we sort of joked about how in the beginning, well, not joked, but we talked about how in the beginning, Apple by default will pretty much allow any iPad apps to be, and by some extension, iPhone apps, but for sure iPad apps to be, you'll be able to download any iPad apps that will allow it to be used on Vision Pro. So on day one, millions of apps for the most part will be available as an iPad version of the app. So it won't necessarily be something that's natively built in. And the thing about iPad apps is that they're designed for iPad, right? And what that means is that there's no Vision OS Chrome. You're not going to get that nice glass blurry effect, no rounded corners. It won't have any way to sort of interact outside of its contained window.
That's if you do not wait. That's for an existing iPad app you do nothing for, or is that an iPad app that you compile with the latest SDK? Like, how do you make it? How do you give it that nothing. Chrome? If you do nothing, like you just don't touch it and it's already in the store.
Right. It's just think of it like almost like if you were open up a Safari browser, almost in a sense, but like an iPad app window. Right?
Yeah,
at least that's my understanding.
Yeah, I turned off opting in. Like I opted out of everything that I manage from that because I was like, I don't have hardware. I don't know what it's going to look like. No one's tested this at all. I don't know how well it'll work. And I mean, I wonder if a lot of developers are in the same boat. They're just like, I'm just going to turn it off because I have no idea what it's going to be like. Maybe it'll be terrible. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know.
What about you, Kotaro? Did you turn off your apps?
Actually, no, but I don't have. Well, actually, I do have the top 10 app that is an iPad version, so probably not. But it's not like a big deal because it's just a portfolio app. So if it's worth testing just to see, but I don't expect.
Well, that's what I mean.
Like a big deal.
I haven't had a chance to test it, so I haven't had a chance to test anything. So
the only app I have in my account is the Watch app, and that's not compatible.
That's not compatible now. It was. But I mean, I logged into App Store Connect, and I was like, Apple, what? Apple just opted everything in, just like by default.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I mean, I understand why, but it's a little aggressive.
The thing that makes it challenging, right? Like, say, for example, your iPad needs to use the camera functionality or some specific Bluetooth connectivity or, I don't know, location manager. I'm trying to think of like something hardware specific.
I use location manager. Yeah.
Right. Like, how does the accelerometer work?
Does it? I don't even. That's my point. Like, who knows?
Right.
And does any of this stuff work in the simulator? I don't know. I feel like a lot of developers in this spot where I would not be surprised if a bunch of developers just turn it off at first until they have a chance to test it more or get hardware in their hands. I mean,
right. The big ones were like YouTube and Netflix.
They're not even in there.
Opted out.
Right. Yeah, they opted out.
Spotify.
And so there's been a lot of controversy about that, about opting out. And I feel like, I understand where they're coming from, though. Even a big company doesn't necessarily have the resources.
Even like somebody like Dave Smith from underscore
Dave Smith.
Dave Smith. Yeah.
Underscore Dave Smith.
He has an app called Widget Smith, right? And one of the things that because it blew up and became like the number one app for a while, way back when widgets
ridiculously huge, that app.
And the thing that makes that tough for him is that he's just one person. So in order to handle tickets and handle like this huge deluge of customer support, right? Just him alone, because he gets millions of downloads, and like he has to like come up with some kind of system to sort of like triage and figure out like where are the priority bugs that he needs to do. He was just one person. He was like, oh, it was a nightmare, right? Just for him. Now imagine if you're one of these big companies, and that's in the fact that like he had hardware, right? He had his iPhone to test the widgets on. Like
he's a drawer full of iPhones.
Yeah, the very few companies, even much less indie developers, have access to a Vision Pro. Like there's no way
even
you would put yourself up for that liability.
And even if you have one, even these big companies have some headsets, so it's not like they have dozens of them. I think that's unlikely. I think they might have had one, two, maybe a handful of ones.
I would suspect less than you might even know.
Yeah, I think it's a very few, and I think some people are complaining about this. It's like nobody knows what does it mean to have, for instance, a Netflix app. Like, the only example we have is Disney is coming out with their streaming service on here, right? And they have like this gimmicky thing where you can kind of like watch Star Wars in a Star Wars environment or something. That's like one of the things they demoed. And it's like, okay, but what does Netflix mean on Vision Pro, like, besides just a bigger screen? And so it's like, I feel like that's a huge app, and they have a lot of users, and they can't rush putting it out onto a niche platform and have a terrible experience, because you only have one chance to make a first impression. So I feel like it's smart, even if you're a giant company and you theoretically could devote the resources to it, it's pretty risky, I think, to potentially put out something that's terrible or doesn't work right for like a tiny, like minuscule number of potential users at first. And I think they will come out with something, but later. Right now, they said you could just use a Safari browser that's built in, and we'll see how well that works. But I understand people's frustration.
Pro launches.
Yeah.
What's that?
The non-pro launches, they'll do it.
Oh, non-pro, yeah. I think for sure they will have an app eventually if there's enough people that buy into this platform, because it does seem like one of the key use cases of the Vision Pro is to consume movies and stuff, and that's really cool. But think about it. Like, Disney, though, I was thinking about this the other day. I think Disney might be more on board this because up front for various reasons. First of all, they're not the leader in streaming services. They've apparently been losing money. That's what I read on this service. And they have, though, very, very strong IP that is, unlike Netflix has some IP, right? They have like Stranger Things, but it's not the same level as like Star Wars is, whereas Disney has very distinct intellectual property. The way they organize their app is also around the IP. Last time I was in there, I mean, I don't subscribe currently, but they had like a Star Wars section. They have Star Wars, and so it's like it makes sense. Then you can create in more. You can create these experiences, and people are going to want to have experiences that are around that IP. But how many people want to like have an experience about Stranger Things? Some people maybe, but I can't even think of another IP from Netflix that's super associated with Netflix. You know what I mean? I'm sure there are some, but it's like, it feels like Netflix to me feels like they have so many little slices of things and everybody has their own favorite stuff. Whereas Disney, it's like there's a handful of properties that Disney has, like big worldwide brands. And I think it totally makes sense that they'd be pushing up front. And also, I bet Apple probably approached them or something.
Yeah, they were in the announcement keynote.
Because somebody has to. And so they get the first mover advantage. And they take the risk, and then all the other streaming services get to see how it works out. So,
I mean, you do make a fascinating point, right? Like, when we talk about first movers, one of the things that, if you're an existing IP, if you're an existing, say, streaming service, right? And you're looking for an edge of any kind, right. Why wouldn't you say, okay, well, let's at least get something relatively nice, and maybe like one key highlighting feature that highlights our IP. So like Paramount Plus would be a good example of like, it'd be great if, like they had something that was centered around Star Trek in some ways. I would love to get.
Are they doing an app or no?
I have no idea, but
I don't know.
They can't afford to do that. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, it's still a big company, right? Or like, or what was another one, like, or Max or whatever, right? Like, let's say Max, with like the House of Dragons, right?
See, that would be potentially cool.
Like the challenge really is, right, for any of these companies is like you have to put in a lot of resources to come up with the content, quote unquote. Like, if we had House of Dragons, where like I get confused with a lot of the Game of Thrones of who's who, right? It would be great if I had like one little dashboard on the side while I'm watching.
While you're watching it,
to be like, that's that character. Who's that character? Or
like
what's the map?
Like the X-ray
where they are in the map
feature on Amazon. Like something like a better X-ray feature. But again, that requires custom development. cycle testing, and it's like, is it worth it when you have, I don't know how many devices are even in the wild, are going to be in the wild February 2nd? I saw estimates on the outside like 80,000.
Yeah, that's like an order of magnitude lower than what we thought.
Yeah, it's, if that's true, I mean, I can understand it. Just if you're especially if you're somebody like Netflix, you're already like top dog. You don't need to be risking reputation damage by having a crappy app or something. And you don't need that, and you can wait and see if, and also they, maybe their audience doesn't care. Like maybe Netflix doesn't think their audience cares about this.
The other thing about like just having some content that's like, enhances the experience, like the fidelity of just like a background panorama image that you need is insane.
Right. Doesn't have to be like huge. I don't know what the numbers are.
Because it's like double 4K or something.
It does. It has to be like
I don't know if it has to, but like if you actually want to look good, but like because like you got like 4K per eye, and it's just like you just need like absolutely huge images that like wrap around.
Yeah.
So
I was
just to like do a background image, you have to get like an insane level of quality. So.
Yeah, like I was testing one on like maybe like 6,000 pixels, just as like a stadium pixel, just to test like 65,000 or something like that, 6,500. I'm sorry, and that still looked like very like pixelated, and I was just like, because when you do it in immersion mode, which is what we're really talking about here, it has like a full wraparound.
That's like one of the
180 wraparound experience.
Yeah,
it's one of the
that's
key
one of the things that
it,
you would want of like distinguish your app from just like a boring old iPad app that you didn't do anything with.
And so that's not a negligible amount of effort and work involved and in doing that.
And that's like not even doing any kind of like 3D graphics of and to get like 3D stuff that's like high enough fidelity. It's like you basically got to be a game studio.
Plus, if you're doing these giant assets, I mean, you're probably gonna have to download them as like you need them. You can't just put them in your bundle if you need like a whole bunch of them.
No,
because it's gonna make your app huge. So it's like there's a lot of technical reasons why, even if you're a big company and you it seems like on the outside you should have plenty of resources to do this, that you would choose not to at first. And just take a wait and see attitude, especially with a market that is teeny tiny. I feel like a lot of developers need to think more like put a business hat on once in a while and think about it from that perspective, and not just what is technically feasible, or like this view of a company's size equating directly with, they could just do whatever they want. They can just do anything. There's never any reason not to do something. But like, the big companies are big and wealthy because they think like a business. They operate like a business, and they care about making a profit, and maybe it's just not worth it to put the effort in right now. Or maybe they're actively developing it, but they can't get it ready in time. There's a lot of reasons why even a big company would struggle to get something out by February 2nd, even with Apple's support. It's a lot. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Disney experience is underwhelming, for instance.
You have to keep in mind, like in those big companies' cases, they have to plan. They don't plan their life around Apple. And they have to plan.
Yeah, unlike us.
Unlike us, but they have to plan their own quarterly sprints, and so they can't if that's not on the docket because there's so many unknowns, you might be able to get a Skunkworks team of maybe like 3 or 4 developers, or 5 maybe at best, but
it'll grow. The apps will grow. What I think the thing is, I think a lot of people are they seem to be upset. Some people or just surprised. Yeah, it's like you're surprised that day one it won't be available. It's like, okay, day one it's not going to be available, but it'll be available in the nearish future. Like there's no like, it's not like I have no doubt that there will be something someday. Like most of these companies are going to do something. But why does it have to be day one?
Going back to the point of I didn't know, for example, with haptics, right? One of the things that I didn't
know anything about haptics.
Talking about the experience was like, I knew there was haptics in the sort of ear mic, so to speak.
Like it vibrates your brain.
I didn't realize that in her mind. Well, we joke, but like, it's kind of like in the side near your ear.
Yeah.
That little speaker I there's haptics in there, right? And one of the things that makes it interesting is like, even though you're tapping virtually on the keyboard, I believe the haptics are happening in that to make it feel as if you're actually tapping on a keyboard, physical keyboard.
How does that work? If it's like, on your, is it like tricking you somehow?
Yeah, it's some weird.
Wait, are you talking about an iJustine video or something? Or
I haven't seen this, but
I haven't seen.
I mean, it's those speakers are supposed to have like spatial audio features, I think.
Right.
But I don't know. I didn't hear about the haptics, so I don't know.
So when she's typing on it, it felt like it was actually at her fingers.
Yeah, it's not obviously. It doesn't. Yeah, it's obviously not the case, but there might be some combination of spatial audio plus like little.
I could see that. Yeah, I can see it. It's like with people with mechanical keyboards, and some people just really love the sounds of mechanical keyboards. And I think, and if you ever go into that space, people talk about the different types of keys and how they feel and stuff. And honestly, I don't feel much difference between a lot of them. And I think some of it is the audio feedback. Like the clickier it is, the audio feedback helps you to kind of imagine that there's more of a tactile feel. At least that's my impression for me and the way my brain works. But so maybe it's something like that where it helps you to trick yourself into thinking you're typing something.
Right. But again, it goes back to like what we don't know. Also, like I think there's a lot of this conversation around 3D and video, but I don't really think we've really touched on that opportunity of spatial audio. I think that's sort of like the hidden secret about this whole experience. And I think that's always one of the things I always talk about with video games is that everyone talks about the visuals. Oh, it has this great graphics, or the art style is fantastic, or the gameplay is this or that, but they never talk so much about the audio. But the audio is the thing that glues everything together. That's what makes it.
If you do it right, it's invisible. It just you don't really notice it, but it just you just know that you're immersed. You don't notice that. Yeah. Oh, the sound design is amazing, unless it's something you care about specifically.
Yeah. Unless you're Hans Zimmer, like a Hans Zimmer fan, maybe then. But
but creating it's like it's its own set of special skills, and not any old indie developer, or even like a big
even
company
if you like suddenly
really
snuck it
care
in
about that stuff. It's
right.
It's hard to do because you can't just like throw that in. You actually have to do some work to design that experience.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's the funny part too, because like we know a lot of sound people, and they are, they are very, very detailed in terms of like how something should feel and what direction it should come from, how much the level should be. It's just, it's wild in terms of like, but when they get it just right, and like as Aaron said, you barely notice it, but somehow you feel it, like. That's how you know you got them.
Nice. For spatial audio to work well, do you need to have the latest AirPods Pro 2s or whatever they're called, or like is it going to work? Does you know how well it works with just the built-in audio? I mean, it does have spatial audio built in, right, through the little speakers, but nobody knows.
It does.
But then the advantage of having the AirPods is what? Just better, more isolated sound.
I don't know, because I have an AirPod 2.
Yeah,
so
I don't know
if it's like
I haven't tried it, so I don't know.
Yeah, obviously none of us have tried it, but I mean they made a big deal.
Goes back to that whole point, right?
Yeah, exactly. Apple made a thing about like for airplanes, right? But you need the AirPods, right, for that to work.
Well, yeah, because otherwise, otherwise, like sound is going to like bleed out.
Exactly.
Of those, like,
I think that's the main thing. Yeah.
Open firing, whatever down firing things in the headband.
And for some reason, you need the USB-C version of the AirPods Pro 2, not the or whatever. So, yeah, okay. I think it had to do with like the Bluetooth version or something they supported. But anyway, so that gives you the most immersive.
I think the whole was it like lossless audio or something?
Yeah, it was like a lossless audio
with AirPods Pro. If I remember, that's what I'm remembering right now, but I could be wrong.
And so, spatial audio is I don't even know how to do spatial audio, but that's going to be a thing if you're trying to do an immersive environment. So a game or any kind of video content, you'd want to master it that way, ideally for the best possible experience. Like for a premium experience, you'd want that. And if you're just doing normal I think Apple seems to be pushing the idea that this is useful for non-consumption tasks, like work tasks as well, right?
Sure.
So
I think simulation is a good some kind of simulator of some kind. So I know they talked about like the F1, having an F1 car in your room and just being able to like break it apart and seeing its specs are something good. Like I can see it like for a car mechanic, that would be great, because like if you could like not just an F1 car, but let's say a Ford Taurus or whatever, and you can like say, training. Oh, this is the part you need, right? Like it's great training opportunity.
Right? I'm thinking to myself, okay, you've seen what it looks like in like a car mechanic shop. You're not going to be wearing this $4,000 fragile glass thing on your face. It's only going to last 2 hours. No. But when you would use that is when you're training. Like you want to understand how to fix a new like a lot of there's a question of there's a lot of lack of expertise across country about how to fix electric cars, for instance. So sure. And one way you could gain that expertise if you don't have access to them, because they're still kind of a niche product. Maybe you can use a simulated training, or training in the medical field. I know that's come up for years as a concept for VR and AR type technology. Of course, these don't replace hands-on training, but it can help. And of course, the things like we've seen before with the iPads and the AR kit demos, where you can have an overlay over something like electrical box or something, so you can identify things. That's so I could see that being very useful. If I was, I think for this version of it, I wouldn't expect like the average mechanic to be using that kind of thing. But if you were like a super high end mechanic, for like real expensive cars or something, I could see you maybe bringing it out just to help. I don't know.
Even
I have no idea
how
car mechanics work.
Very basic, like you had a list of parts, right? Let's say you had a list of parts. If we're saying like a Swift UI list. And then you had like in the image, so you have a row of lists of parts, and you have like an image next to it, right? But then you tap on that image, then you can get the 3D rotation of that part, right?
Yeah, you get the 3D part.
And then you can compare your part with that part and be like, or maybe you can do an object detection and be like, what is this part, right? And then it'll go through its list and be like, that's the part you're looking for, or that's the spec that it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I can finally do my packing list app that I wanted to do.
Oh, what does that do? Make a list?
Basically, just like you have a list, and then you look at your pile of stuff laid out on your desk or whatever, and it's like, is all the stuff on my list in front of me?
There you go.
Like that was like an AR app, like that I talked about when our like AR app ideas, way before Vision Pro.
That's not a bad idea.
I don't think it's like I'm sure somebody's going to do something like that, but it's all depends on a proper object recognition model that's like works with your domain. You're not going to have something that's just going to recognize anything. I guess the ones they have now are better than they were a few years ago, but I'm not sure how well it would work for an anything domain app.
Right. I mean, let's say, for example, your bike company, maybe you can get access to scanning all or getting some kind of the 3D models of all the parts, right? And then you can say, does this have are the parts here, right? Just by looking at the glasses, and you would just have a model for that
that would be
that brand.
If that worked like perfectly and you could rely on it, it would be a great thing. Just for anything where it's like you have like 20 plus parts of something, and you want to say, do I have them all? Have I put it all?
Except that like
out?
If you want reliability, there's other ways you can mark the parts to be guaranteed. But you could still work. I mean,
it would be an extra check.
I think that's a good use.
Just
case
as like a
AR.
fun, I think it's like it would be a fun project to do.
I wonder how warehouse work. I mean, maybe it'd be applicable in that kind of thing. Like anything to do with inventory management, you're always looking for ways to make that faster and easier on workers and have less employees necessary for things. So, I mean, I could see that if you can just look at stuff, as you said, and even just if you could just identify, like we can very easily, you can take a camera feed and identify like QR codes and barcodes and stuff. So if your camera feed is kind of, so like if you could just look at stuff and identify those because everything already has a code on it, like that alone could improve your. I mean, like right now, I guess you have to scan it with some kind of device. But if you could just look around, maybe that'll work.
Yeah, I guess the problem is, are you gonna wear a $3,500 headset around a warehouse.
No, probably not. I mean, like, that's the thing. This version of it is not. Yeah. That's not a use case for this version. That is a use case for a much cheaper, hardier device that is lighter, and you're not going to like give yourself neck strain or something.
Vision Air is where Vision we're
Air.
Looking at.
You know they're going to do it. Vision Air actually sounds like an Apple product name. Yeah,
that makes the most sense.
That'll be the Tony Stark glasses from Spider-Man. That'll be the Air ones.
You're not far off.
I gotta say, I watched that movie. That was one of the Spider-Man movies, and I was like, that's not even possible. I was like, that's the part that took me out of the movie. Not like the Spider-Man powers or whatever. It was that these glasses don't make any sense to me. There's no power supply.
There's audience here. We're talking. These are meant for young adults. Okay,
but I was like, where's the battery? Okay. Like, Tony Stark needed some weird fusion reactor in his chest originally to power his suit. How did these glasses have? This is what I was thinking about watching this movie.
We're too deep. We're too deep into how the sausage is made. How does this work? Steve.
Yeah, I know. That's where my mind goes. I just got so distracted. Like, where's the battery? Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, I do
pocket.
Like. You didn't see the wire
in his back pocket
that he tucked in the back, right? You didn't see the little mini wire that he had.
Yeah, he has a little battery pack. You don't see it. That's funny. But so we were talking about audio simulations, augmented reality use cases, and then we have VR, right? Full on VR use cases. I think that's pretty obvious. We have like actual apps coming out though that seem to be more VR, AR related. There's like a DJ app and there's a Fruit Ninja app, right? That are both cool.
One of the things that I think would be pretty cool, I'm sure it's already being worked on in some form of capacity, is like a DDR style app or an exercise style app, and maybe a
sounds like
app.
Exercise stuff is out with how heavy this thing is.
I don't know. Fruit Ninjas exist. Fruit Ninja's coming out. Fruit Ninja augmented reality. Fruit Ninja sounds fun. That's going to be moving
waving
around.
Hands. Yeah,
well, that's not really exercise though. I mean, actually. Whatever, really moving around.
Yeah, I don't know about DDR.
Yeah, I think that's too much.
Like, what is it, like 2 pounds?
It's going to fall off the thing. Yeah.
How dare you? Somebody's going to do it anyway.
Strap that thing.
Somebody's going to do it, and then somebody's going to like have the thing fall off their face.
Look, it's like a $500 for Apple Care or whatever, right? Get the Apple Care plan, and then it's like $300 deductible or something like that. I think it costs like $1.
This is for rich parents. Okay,
seriously. Did you see? Did you see the Apple Care cost? I think it's like $1 less than the out-of-pocket cost to replace the front glass if you break it once. But I can't imagine you doing I don't know, a DDR. I guess it all depends on how well does this thing actually stay on your face if you're moving around. I'm skeptical of that because it's.
I'm not saying like because particularly if you have to like move your head around a lot.
If you have to move your head around a lot,
like how much
you might get motion sickness or something too. I don't know.
How much is the camera going to keep up with you?
I don't know.
You know, look, your head
Meta's headsets are lighter in general, but like people do jump around and stuff in those. They stay on the face. They're not as heavy, but you know, if you have the top shot, I don't know. I think we're gonna have to just wait and see on after February 2nd what people do with it. But DDR is a great one. Fruit Ninja is coming out, and I saw that DJ app or something that was like it had both an immersion mode and like an augmented reality mode, and I guess you can mix the songs or something, and I don't know, broadcast them out to everybody.
One thing
speakers.
I can't. Okay.
No, I can't wait to see a DJ at a real event. That'd be hilarious.
There's nothing in front of him. It's just like he's wearing goggles.
Exactly.
Is even better. Is he really making that music?
Even better, Aaron, it's going to be a silent disco version of this, where everybody has headphones on. So if you don't have headphones on, it's silent. Then you see a guy in the front of the room wearing the goggles, and it's just like that blue haze because he's like in the middle of doing his thing, and then he's just making the gestures like he's doing stuff with his hands, and everyone is dancing, and you just walk into the warehouse and it just looks like some dystopian nightmare to you because you don't have any headphones on. But you know what?
It would be
Why
hilarious
not?
if you could use SharePlay and then other people can join in on your DJing, right? And then
even better if all the audience is wearing the headsets. Also, that
would be even better.
Really make it.
I wonder how well that would work. Or you could broadcast it on like a live stream or something. So then you could get you could see the visual version of it. So one of the things I've always thought about with AR type stuff is, if the audience needs to be able to experience it in some way, otherwise it looks goofy. And so before you had if everybody doesn't have goggles, you need to like display it on a screen or something. And so you could do that. Although, like, if you're doing that, what's the purpose of doing with the goggles? But say if people had the goggles and you could stream it, that could be part of a like a concert experience. Could be done that way.
I'm trying to figure out I guess how would you
good audio.
export, or how would you like feed the live, how would you do a live feed of what you're seeing in that VR space?
Apparently that's a feature, but it's really low res.
Oh, really?
It's it's like 720p or something like that. Is what you can mirror off the.
It's enough to stream though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, all I really want to do is like send it to like an external monitor or something. So
that's
like,
what I was thinking. Yeah, like for a live audience that didn't have goggles. But I think it's mainly meant for like joint.
Yeah, you can AirPlay it. You can AirPlay it, but it's only 720p.
Oh wow, okay. Okay. Although if everybody had the headset on, how many people can join into one shared experience like that? I have no idea.
Only 4.
A share play thing is that's something else.
Like that was like if you were in 2 same places. Let's say, for example, you wanted to get that training again for like a car part, like taking apart a car. Or like look,
engine. You
can use SharePlay, and I don't know how that virtually looks, but you can technically see the same product, and like watch it being disassembled simultaneously. You can build an app to do that. Same with like that's partially why Freeform app is on the Vision Pro, because they want you to test out the idea of using SharePlay in that space.
Those collaborative things are really interesting for collaborating on some kind of virtual space. But I don't know how it's going to be hard finding 2 people in one room without this thing.
No. You can technically do. I mean,
you could do it remote also, but I think it'd be more interesting in the same room.
I'm not sure about the hope is you can remote with audio.
You can share a whiteboard. Like Freeform is meant to be the whiteboard of like. So if I'm using my Mac and you're on Vision Pro, we can share a session, and then you can see me like draw on the whiteboard kind of thing.
Right. I just don't know what the Vision Pro adds to that.
It adds, I think, a better environment for a remote person to feel like you're in the spot. Maybe more natural for drawing. I don't even know. Is it natural? How natural is it to draw in VR? I don't know.
I don't know. See, that's again, we don't know, right?
It's like thing is, some of these use cases, it's like if I just use my computer, it's easier.
Whatever. Unless you're like manipulating 3D models, or trying to get the sense of scale of a 3D object. I don't. Yeah, just like working with stuff that's flat I don't think it's.
I don't see
a better experience.
I mean, it's novel.
I haven't tried it.
It's a novel experience. I wonder if it's going to be like a significantly like objectively better experience in some way where I'm gaining something from. But like these use cases, there has to be something beyond novelty for it to be a long-term investment of your time to use it.
The one thing I could see for particularly like streaming services or any service that puts out video content, I hate that term, is like live events, right? So
live events.
A good example is to say, hey, let's say you pay Ticketmaster or whatever, or let's say, what's a streaming service? Let's say NBC or Peacock or whatever, right? Like I want to watch a Sixers game or an NFL game, but I want to see it from like first row, camera seating, right? You have like one camera that is like one of those like 180 or I forgot the 360 cameras.
I thought this thing existed. I thought this product. I thought some company was doing that.
We
talked about it before.
Right. and that's the thing, right? Like this is actually what I think is potential business value, right? You can charge people $50, right, per session to watch a live game, as almost as if you were in the arena itself.
Seats, and you have multiple people in the same seat. Yeah, and you get more than one person in there. Yeah,
and fundamentally, exactly. It's just streaming a 360 video stream. That's all it is.
Exactly. That's all it is. And you could do that now, and it's just not immersive.
So anybody who can't make it to the game can just pay $50. It's like pay-per-view. But VR.
How high res does the stream have to be? How high res does the stream have to be in order to do an immersive version of that? Otherwise, you're just watching a screen Well,
no, that's the thing. Is like because it's a 360.
That's my point. Like how does it look in? I don't know. Like how would it look? Because the bit rates on those is not like necessarily 4K. Maybe it could be. Sure. Maybe that'd be enough. I have no idea. what it's going to look like. But that's a great idea because then you could have like 100 people who could buy a ticket for the best seat in the house and all have their own individual experience of looking around at because you're right because it's 360 video is just one stream and your client is what chooses what you look at.
And honestly, like if I was the said company, I would be charging per as if it was a ticket, like a live event ticket.
Yeah. Would you only have one? Would you only have one? You wouldn't have just one person per position on the seat, though, right? Like you'd have.
I mean, you could point of the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's like you'd have anyone who wants to have the bet. You just charge it.
That's what your NFT bros would say. But
right, only one seat. It's like no, man.
Pointless.
No,
we would have pointless.
Exactly, we would have taken advantage of the fact that it's a stream that a whole 100 people could tune into. They all pay us $100 for a better seat.
I mean, you could have it so that like it'll show up in like different parts of the area. And the only thing that I would be a little hesitant about is like making sure, for example, like if people don't want to be filmed, right? Because there are some people that are in the hard cam and they want to be filmed, right? They want to be in the video or in the live stream. And there's people that are behind the camera that's like, I got these seats, so I don't want to be in the stream or whatever.
The really good thing about this type of live thing, I would think, is not just a thing of like, oh, I'm sitting in one seat. Is that like you could have like 10 seats that are like at every every corner plus and you could like flip through them. Yeah, it's like, oh, this point in the game I want to be on the other side of the court. Yeah, that's something you couldn't do if you just like, even if you had the best seat, you're stuck in one spot.
So you could just and you could just flip around to whatever is the best view, and you could even be automated if you wanted to be somewhat. Like you could flip on what is the best view for a particular play at this time, or especially football. You can see that being really useful in football because of the long field, and so you want to always be where they're lining up. For instance.
They did have, I don't know if it's still a thing, but they did have the quarterback cam for some of these games. So that's could get, I mean, that's going to make your stomach spin, but you could technically have like a quarterback cam in the VR space and really get that experience.
Especially if it was like a 3D camera, not like a 360 one, but like a 3D camera where you're like looking from their perspective.
So I think that live events, so from a practical standpoint, given how expensive this is and how it's probably low numbers, I actually think live events might be an initial profitable use case. We might actually see some of that.
Well, it's only profitable if there's enough people to buy the tickets.
Well, that's what I mean. But if it's
have the thing,
if the people,
the headset,
because it's so expensive, you can assume that if someone's buying it, they probably have some disposable income.
Right. So, enough of those people that are all into the same type of live event.
I don't know. I think sports might try it out because
I guess most people are into sports.
I mean, not like us. Remember, normal people like sports. No, I
like sports.
No, dude, I'm so out of touch. I had no idea that the Eagles had played a playoff and lost. Like I had no idea.
Neither did I.
Yeah. See, we're terrible. We're not the right audience. But depending on what my point is, Aaron, depending on what it is, the type of event it is you're doing, you can have a very expensive ticket.
No, I totally get it.
And it could still be worth trying out if you're really niche. And because I think the really niche live event production houses, they might consider doing this as an experiment.
The main thing is like how much additional equipment for like cameras and then broadcasting would they need, or do they already have all this stuff set up? And
I just feel like I've seen this before. I feel like I've seen this concept before the whole before this came out.
It's so just maybe just not at this at the fidelity.
Maybe
of Vision
Fathom
Pro,
events will do it. Maybe Fathom events will do it. I always see them advertising.
Even if you said like, let's say even AMC, right? I mean, just let's be even generic about it and just be like, AMC could have virtual, like their app could have like a virtual.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't
experience.
It doesn't have to be super immersive. Right. You're right. Like it could be like that Taylor Swift concert thing where everybody went to the theater for it. You could also have a version of that which is in the AR, or like the I mean, people pay for the experiences. What's that? The big sphere in like Vegas? Like people pay a lot of money for some of those seats in there to get to just be in the right spot to have this.
The question is like, how many people are going to these events to say they saw it, and how many people are going to actually see other people, right, who are into the same thing. Yeah, so it's like you're missing out on all of that thing of like actually going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's
as
like
somebody who doesn't go to tons of live events, I don't know.
Yeah,
what's the percentage of people that do it for the real life experience?
Being there in person is always better in a lot of ways. I feel like it's like a tiered experience. You know, you can be there live, you can listen to the live recording later. It's like in between that. I think there's a market. I think there is an underserved market potentially there for a better quality remote experience for a live event, and at least some kinds of events, especially events that are somewhere far away or very limited amounts of seats or very expensive, like a big name concert or something. And I think there's definitely a market for that. But what you're buying though is obviously not as good as if you were there. I don't think, but
no,
I still think it would be cool to try.
Like Steve, you know the experience of a live event and just sort of feeling the energy of the crowd.
It's very different. But that's kind of my thing. It's like it's in between. If you watch a stream of a live event, you get none of that. If you're immersed in it, at least to some degree, because you're in the headset with spatial audio, you get a taste of that to some degree.
I guess the question is like how do they for something that's like specifically like a concert where the sound matters, how do they balance the thing of the live the music versus the crowd for an immersive experience where it's not just you're just getting a ton of crowd noise, but then you can't hear what's happening, you can't hear the concert. So that seems like it'd be hard to do properly.
Good point. Damn it, Aaron. You would have to do a lot of audio mixing.
Well, like at a live event where the instruments are all properly mic'd. They get mic'd and they get sent to the mixing board, and then they get output on the speakers or in the room, and they also get recorded at high fidelity, like lossless recording. And then so this is like a thing that audio engineers have done forever, like taking the live mix. Like they could just take the live recording they're already doing and send that out, and you would get a good experience, and that would be like probably a stereo channel. At that point, you could also record it with I don't know. They could probably record it with I don't know how you do spatial audio recording, but like there's got to be more than 2 channels for that, I'm guessing, right? But they could just take that recording and send it somehow. I don't know how spatial audio works with this thing, but yeah, you're right. Like you have to know what you're doing, but it's possible to get a good live recording of
but something that's better than just like listening to the live recording, because then it just sounds like you're listening to the live recording.
I would say it would be.
You want something more than just like the stereo live thing with like a little bit of background crowd noise of like, oh yeah, I'm listening to a live
Well,
album.
I mean, I think the visuals will fill in. I think if you have quality. If you take the recording that they're pumping through the speakers, that's if it's properly mic'd, and you broadcast that, but then the fact that you feel more immersed in it, I think is where the added value comes in. So it's not necessarily would sound better than the recording live would be, but at least you're you're there in the audience more, to some degree. Or as you said, you could switch and see different angles and stuff. It's not going to be the same. I'm just saying it's a different market you're serving there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if any of these things pop up.
Yeah, my personal view right now is that in the early days, I could see niche live events jumping on board this. I definitely see certain kinds of games. I definitely see simulation and training, because these are things where you don't need a lot of headsets, but there's already a lot of money invested in this, and you could have the same headset, for instance, be a capital expense, and just multiple people could use it. I mean, because you could get enough pieces to do that.
The low hanging fruits are
Fruit
monitors
Ninja.
For days, right? Fruit Ninja.
We keep neglecting
days,
that.
right?
Monitors for days. Yes.
Day trade, like that's the key one, right? Like you can be a day trader. You could be a super day trader because you can have 6 4K videos running at the same
2 hours
time.
at a time.
For 2 hours at a time, yeah. But like
unless you plug
2 hours at a
wall,
time, you are.
You might want a neck
trader.
brace too. You might want a neck brace.
Yeah. Keep your head shone straight. What's the other one? Online gambling, right? Or
online gambling. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Apple wasn't associated with online gambling. I don't think so.
But like to be able to like have multiple sessions happening at once, right? Or
that's terrible.
Or,
that's terrible. I don't
anything that requires multiple monitors, right?
Yeah, multiple monitors actually. I really want to try that. So we know some people in PhillyCocoa that are buying this thing, and there has been at least one promise to bring it to an event at some point. I don't know how that's going to work out. It's probably going to have to be on the DL because, like I would love to try it out if we could do that. I would love to try it out. And the thing I want to try is the monitor thing, because like, and you know what? You do not actually need the Vision Pro. I believe there's actually a product that exists that does this already. It's like much lighter weight glasses, and that's the whole thing it does is just to give you a bigger monitor. So, but that is a use case that I think is great for this type of device. I wouldn't buy a Vision Pro just for that. But that's cool. Yeah, monitors for days is a great idea. But I think we're just still kind of narrow-minded about it, because it is spatial computing. Tim Apple said it's spatial computing. It's its own thing, man. We got to think about what that means.
I'm not actually as weird as it's gonna sound as like an Apple fanboy thing. I'm actually okay with it being considered its own unique category, because I think we're still stuck in this like it's either one or the other. It's either AR or it's VR, and it's no blend in between. Like, there's a blend in between that, and I think that's kind of where this lives in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I know what Apple's getting at. They're like, look, man, we spent all this money developing algorithms that can anchor things in real life, and they don't move. No, but it's like it makes sense. It does make sense. So people think in terms of where stuff is in physical space all the time. Your desktop. You ever watch somebody use I have a messy desktop, and you're like, how did this person function? A lot of people have things in specific locations on the two-dimensional plane of their desktop, for instance. That's just one example. People organize assets all the time in visual ways. So you have like your pictures here, your fonts here, whatever. People do that kind of stuff in Figma. You art boards that way.
Could you imagine if Apple allowed you to have all your your files in virtual space desktop? Could you imagine how messy that would look?
Oh man. But
there's an
not,
app for you.
Not files, but like 3D objects representing the files. So it's just like this.
Could you imagine
like a desk with just files,
like the 90s cyberpunk shows and movies?
Yeah. So just make an app that takes your whatever's on your desktop, right, and then creates a 3D version of it, and then piles it in your room.
Yeah, I mean, I think
actually go in and virtually like pick out which file you want.
Yeah, I think we got to think about it in terms of like there are all kinds of different metaphors we use for computing, and they make sense in different kinds of use cases in different types of environments with different types of hardware. And now what you have with quote unquote spatial computing is this technology that allows you to mix a wider variety of these together, including full immersion, and all the way down to like basic computing on a 2D screen that we're used to. And I think that's what they're getting at. They're saying this is like a paradigm shift potentially, where all the forms of computing we're used to are now possible including these way more immersive, hands-on ways of doing computing that we're only now just beginning to explore, and now it can all be in the same kind of environment. And I think that's what they're going for. That's the kind of impression I get. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd love to try it out. We'll see.
I'd like to try it out on somebody else's dime.
Yeah, I can't justify buying it right
exactly.
now.
Exactly.
The thing with that is the lenses, the prescription lenses.
Oh yeah.
We didn't talk about that. Is how well is that going to work if you're trying to try it out for, other than at the Apple Store where they have like a million lenses to try things out? Is it really, like, I have like a very slight prescription for seeing things far away that I really only wear when I drive, but is it just going to be impossible?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or is like everything going to be blurry unless it's like right in front of my face? I don't know, because it was like I looked at the buying process and it was like, do you wear glasses at all? Yes, you need the lenses.
Really? So at all?
Yeah,
at all. Basically, unless you wear like contacts for all the time.
So I don't.
Then you need
I don't
them.
wear glasses, but what if my vision is not 100% and I just don't realize
Yeah. So basically, it's like
I don't know.
If you, it's like if you need like me, it's like, oh, you need glasses for seeing things far away. It's like you should get the glasses.
So maybe this is a way to discover that I'll need glasses. I'll put it on without them, and I'm like, stuff just doesn't quite look right. Apparently, I need glasses.
That should be the first. That should be the first app, to be honest. One of those like
vision vision checker.
The vision checker.
Yeah.
Vision test. It should be a vision test. Like close one eye.
Glasses. Glasses stores will love those things.
Well,
online glasses.
One of my eyes is definitely weaker than the other. Like one of my eyes is definitely better than the other. That's normal for a lot of people.
Yep.
And so, I have no idea. I wonder how it's
you've
gonna
never
work.
gone to. You never got your eyes checked.
I mean, I have. It was a long time ago.
Mirror.
Okay. Well, yeah, it changes over time.
Yeah. So I mean, I should go back in, but like I have not noticed. I have not. My point is, I have not noticed any kind of vision impairment that would make me think that I would need glasses in any particular situation. That does not mean that my vision is necessarily like 20/20 perfect, so that this would work without lenses. I don't know.
Is that how it's designed?
I don't know. Like to what margin can you have less than 100% quote unquote perfect vision? I have no idea. That's my point. And it's possible that I put this thing on and realize that I need glasses.
Well, if you're driving, for example, and if you're driving on the highway and you can't really see the sign from a reasonable time frame, then that's
right. That's what I need it for. It's like I want to see the signs to be sharp from a reasonable distance. I mean, like I can see it fine. Like most of the time I just never wear my glasses. But when I'm driving, that's one where I'm always wearing them.
You're going to be a good test case then when we have access to
it. It's like if I try somebody else's out and it's like, oh, no, because you can pull the lenses out, I think. They just like snap in.
They're too expensive for you to like buy a bunch
of
and
they cost like $150, I think, for the lenses.
Yikes. And you have to have a script.
Your insurance may cover them. It was in the fine print. It said,
may. Yeah, they love that.
It was in the thing. It was.
I don't think so. I'm doubtful of that. They say may for a reason.
Right. No. Right. I guess it was.
I'm doubtful my insurance.
You may have to talk to your vision.
That's what it says.
Does it count as glasses? Maybe that's why.
I don't know. That's what I guess. It's too new of a thing to know.
I think it depends, right?
If still $150 is not that bad considering how expensive glasses can be.
If you order a lens, right? You can. I'm sure your FSA might be able to handle it, but if you order a lens,
same thing. It's like, is that an actual medical expense? Is that
does it count under the law for
count?
I don't know,
because it's
that was in the fine print also. It's like, oh, can I? Or it's like, can I use this?
No, but Aaron's right. It's like we may think it counts. Does it count? Does the insurance company think it? Does the legal system
somebody's
think
gonna have to make a policy decision on that.
It's a policy
decision.
And
I don't think they've made those decisions yet.
So it's a brave new world of spatial computing and vision impairment. So it's gonna be interesting. Maybe does Tim Cook wear glasses? He wears them. Maybe that's why we've never seen him wearing the headset, because you would need like a special lenses in there, and they didn't have them.
He can't get them.
Yeah, maybe he could get the lenses until now. I don't know. Like, even he could get them. I don't know. I know we're at the wrap up, but you did see like the photos of people wearing them. All the photos that we've seen apparently came from Apple, like Apple's photographer. It actually did a good job, by the way. And they're all people. Some of them are goofy looking.
15 Pro, by the way.
Was it with an iPhone?
Using an iPhone 15 Pro. Yeah.
Oh well, they're good. They're good. They're good images. But yeah, I'm sorry. You were right, Kotaro. We talked about how you look goofy wearing any kind of VR thing. You still look goofy with this. In fact, the eyes thing looks. I'm sorry. Did you? I mean,
I hate it.
No, that's so goofy looking. Do you see the picture, Aaron, on the website?
Can you turn it off?
Can you? Does anybody?
That's
know?
what I want to know. Can you? I would just turn it off.
You can just, as long as you stay in VR world. Yeah, sure, you can turn. Well,
it off. Yeah.
Until someone walks into your frame.
Nobody's going to be in the room when you're using this.
What's hilarious? They were talking about people were complaining about the people were complaining about the $200 case that you'd pay Apple if you got a case.
I can't believe it comes with both bands. That's insane. They didn't take the opportunity to sell you the other band.
Well, probably because it would be it'd be too much anger. Because they know that the people are going to need that brand.
That's more essential than a case.
Yeah. But why are people upset about the case? Because it's
you never get a case. What are you talking about?
But that's the hilarious part. It's like nobody's going to be outside with this thing.
No, it's for taking with you when you travel to a hotel room, and then you can keep it from getting damaged in luggage or something. Point. If you're going to travel with this thing, you absolutely need isn't it a hard case? You absolutely need a case. That glass is going to break. Have you not seen the videos of like baggage handlers and stuff sometimes? I
was about to say you're gonna see a lot of bags opening. What is this?
Wait.
Oh right. When is the I don't know, the hard shell, armor shield type?
Oh my god! All the third party cases
goes on the front glass.
It's gonna make it look like a military robot.
Yeah.
And what about all the people that have iPhones now with cracked screens? Are they just gonna walk around with cracked Vision Pros? You see them in coffee shops with cracked Vision Pros.
We're getting to the ghost in the shell future now.
Yes, that's what I mean. We're gonna be everything look like Ghost in the Shell because I have the armored
that's really a Vision Pro with a
it's gonna have little holes for the cameras. It's gonna be this goofy looking.
Yep. Yeah, somebody's gonna make it.
I wonder how well that'll work. That somebody's gonna try.
Right,
anyway.
and then with little eye cutouts.
Eye cutouts to the eyes,
just so you can see the eyes.
Oh god! Yes. I want someone. Can we make? We can't change that effect, right? Because I really want a Cylon effect to go, or Kit effect.
So.
I want a Cylon.
I feel like that's the type of thing of you know how you can't really change or create your own
your watch faces.
Watch face.
Yeah.
I feel like Apple will eventually do something similar once we kind of get past the.
I just want the version where you can where they get rid of the front screen.
I know.
Well, maybe if you're willing to invest $350 to break the camera.
Aaron, I put that as a tag in the podcast.
Break the screen
last time. Your hatred of that feature. That was a tagline for the podcast last time.
Come on. I don't know why. It's going to happen where you test it for the first time and one of us would be like, let's take a quick snapshot.
Oh yeah. We didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
I just think it's so unnecessary. I don't really care how it looks. I just think it's just completely unnecessary and a waste of money.
It could end up being something they drop from the cheaper models.
They're totally going to get rid of it
because it reminds me of the initial Apple Watch with the super expensive Apple Watches, and you're like, why in the world would I buy a gold plated Apple Watch that barely functions, is going to be outdated in a year? But it's it's like one of those things that they drop that whole gold plated Apple Watch stuff.
It's going to be the next Touch Bar. I hope.
I like the Touch Bar.
No, actually, I don't mind the Touch Bar.
Yeah, it'd be
but the feature that they just get rid of.
Yeah, it's usually they just drop
3D touch.
Yeah. And not only that, they'll just drop it and not mention it. They'll just stop mentioning it. That's how they'll drop it. It'll just disappear from products. The product, and they won't say anything. Yeah.
I mean, the hardest part is I get where they were coming from or why they did it, and a lot of it is just to humanize the experience. But that is a topic we should talk about in the next podcast, or a future podcast, I should say. So that's all we have for today. You can learn more about PhillyCocoa at phillycocoa.org. There you'll find links to our Slack group, meetup schedule, and contact info. If you're feeling generous, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your podcast platform of choice is, and share us with all your developer friends. And one more thing. More dad jokes.
Yo, before you go, before you do dad jokes, we have a new website, podcast.
Oh, we do.
.phillycocoa.org. You can get the full back catalog. And it's easy to subscribe, and you can download the MP3s if you want. Plus, we're also on YouTube now at the Philly Coca Heads YouTube channel.
Oh, nice, nice. I should have saved that for the one more thing. But since I still have these jokes, I'll throw them in.
Cut it up.
Aaron, I quit my job as a cybersecurity researcher recently. I just couldn't hack it.
Why is that?
Oh my God.
Just couldn't hack it.
Just couldn't hack it. Are these ChatGPT jokes?
No, these are, again, Reddit programmer dad jokes.
Human beings came up with these jokes. Okay.
Human beings came up with these bad jokes.
Human minds.
For which then ChatGPT will digest and then eventually
regurgitate. Yes.
But you know something, Steve? I am also a C# developer. For me, really? Java is a 4-letter word. Unlike Perl, which is a 4-letter word for everyone.
Yes. I used to do Perl. That's true. Actually, writing Perl, it just looks like you're cursing yourself out on the screen sometimes.
Yes.
Old school Perl.
Yes. I also have a friend in a C course. I wanted to help her with her class, but I don't have any pointers, so I decided not to string her along.
Oh my God. Nobody's going to get that unless they've actually programmed C. I had to make a linked list of like podcast. Oh my God. That's funny.
Till next time, good luck on your own developer journey. We will cheer for you always.
I just got so distracted. Like, where's the battery?
He's wearing it in his back pocket.